But what's interesting about the American business world is that, generally speaking, business leaders think that the #1 reason that people leave their jobs is because of compensation. And in fact, it's 4th place. It's the 4th most likely reason a person leaves their job is because they get a job somewhere else that's better compensation. The #1 reason that a person leaves their job, Lance mentioned it this morning, is their boss. People leave, people join companies and leave their boss. And so the second level here is the succeed need that every employee has. How does an employee have a sense of feeling successful? By how they're recognized. How they're recognized both formally and informally by their boss and by the company. And so we started actually looking within our company about how do we recognize, how do we create a culture of recognition? One of the things we started doing, again, practical application of stuff, because I come to these conferences like you do, and I want the practical. Tell me some things that we can do like after the conference that I can start doing in my company that will help make it a more conscious organization. Well, here's one thing we did from a recognition perspective. We had weekly executive committee meetings with the top 16 people in the company. We would end our meetings during this downturn, during this very difficult time, we would end our meetings with 10 minutes of recognition. Not recognition of the other 16 people at the table, which would have been nice, but it was actually recognition of other people within the company, within the at that point, 1,500 people or so we had in the company. So we'd end the meeting, and frankly, those meetings were tough. They were 2-hour meetings, and it was a difficult time, and we were talking about some difficult things. But at the end of the meeting, people could volunteer. So the vice president of sales could raise his hand and say, I want to recognize Jody, because Jody just joined the company, and there's a corporate account we've been trying to get for 10 years for this particular hotel, and within the first 2 months, Jody got that corporate account to actually come join us. Or the VP of operations could say, hey, Joe, our bellman, actually schlepped bags for 2 days up the stairs when the elevator in that hotel was out because of a repair problem. And we had a German tour group, and he had to schlep all these things. So someone will actually be recognized in the meeting. Then someone else from a different department, so if it's the VP of Ops recognizing Joe the bellman, it's the VP of IT who will say, I'm going to go talk to Joe and say, thank you, Joe. Thank you for what you did. Just know that at our executive committee, it was brought up. And so 3 things happen by doing this. #1 is we end our meeting on a positive note. The fear ripples at the executive club, the fish stinks from the head down, they say. And that's true in an executive company, in an organization that's going through a troubled time. Executives get all worked up, and you can feel it at the line level. So we actually ended on a positive note. #2 is Joe, the bellman, actually got recognized by someone other than maybe his direct general manager. That was nice, and to know that the whole company was talking about, the whole senior execs in the company were talking about him, that's great. But thirdly, and this is the one that was the most subtle that I didn't figure out until later, the fact it was someone from the IT silo who went to go talk to someone in the operations silo, and say, great job, helped to break down these silos. Because what happens in a company as you grow is these silos create. And marketing blame, especially in difficult times, marketing blames operations, and operations blames HR, and everybody blames accounting. And nobody loves accounting, that's for sure. And so you have these sort of weird silos that have been created. And all of a sudden, by having someone from a different silo, from a different department, actually go out and say something to Joe in a recognition kind of way, it made a difference.